Today, I'm super excited that I'm going to have Julia Simpson, the CEO of WTTC, join me, as well as a message from Andrea Grisdale, who has been named the vice chair of the small, medium-sized enterprise vertical at WTTC. Hi, Julia. Thank you for joining me here on The Lens. It's super fun to have you.
Oh, Matthew, thank you for inviting me today. I'm a great fan of Virtuoso, so it's super to be able to join you and to all your viewers and listeners and members.
As you know, I've been involved with WTTC for nearly 20 years. I'm the current vice chair of membership. Let's just start with the very basics. What is WTTC and what does it do? Why does it exist?
The World Travel and Tourism Council, acronym WTTC, really brings together at a global level the business leaders, the private sector in travel and tourism. We are much stronger together, but why do we need to be together? We really need to advocate for the transformative value that travel and tourism brings to the world. About 1 in every 10 jobs on this planet comes from travel and tourism, and 1 in every $10 that are made come from travel and tourism.
A fundamental thing that WTTC does is the research side. Can you just touch a little bit on what the kind of the research and the things that people can look for at WTTC as a resource?
We work with Oxford Economics. We've actually worked with them for 30 years. And the research that they provide with us at WTTC is what we call the economic impact research. We're just publishing now all the data, the finalized data for 2024, and we're doing the data for 2025 and for the next 10 years. And the two key areas that we look at is how much will our sector be worth globally and also to 185 countries' economies. Globally, travel and tourism this year is expected to beat all records and to be worth over $11 trillion. To give you an idea of how that's broken up, about 2 trillion of that comes from the USA. Fast on its heels, may I say, is China. And the other aspect that we look at is how many jobs do we create? Globally this year, we're going to be up there in about 360 million jobs. That is a lot of jobs.
One of the most valuable things that WTTC did through its partnership with Oxford Economics, the appropriate aggregation of everything under the umbrella of travel and tourism, because depending on where you were in the world, different financial press, different governments put different aspects of our industry in different categories. So they would put airlines under transport as if it somehow didn't have anything to do with travel and tourism.
We use this data to show governments the value that travel and tourism can bring to their countries. Some countries are very mature, they already have a mature travel and tourism market, but maybe they've got a little bit lazy or resting on their laurels. And we go to the government and say, listen, you're actually missing a great opportunity here.
There is direct and indirect employment. It's not just the people that work at a particular property or cruise line or whatever. It's the people that deliver the flowers and build the trade show booths and all the other things that a lot of people don't fully understand.
Things like shopping, people think it's sort of quite a light-hearted thing, but it's a multi-trillion-dollar business. We actually support lots of other industries as well. And another point, developing countries, we can sometimes represent 80% of their GDP. And we give people an opportunity to really be lifted out of informal economies into a formal economy where they're getting training, where they're getting a proper salary, where they're paying their taxes, and really being able to enter them into the world of work. And the other wonderful thing about our sector is you can literally start as a bellboy, like Chris Nassetta did, and you can become a CEO. There are very, very few sectors and industries globally where you can do that.
If you're listening, remind everybody you know that travel and tourism is an export. What makes something an export is when you get somebody else's money into your country. In travel and tourism, the client brings the money to you.
And the thing with travel and tourism, it's very regenerative in a sustainable way. You could have a development somewhere that could be for a data center, or it could be for a car factory. Nobody is really there looking at how's the nature and the flora and the fauna, is it all being protected? If you have a hotel or you have a cruise line, you will see that people will actively want your hotel and your assets to be not just protecting or nature, but regenerating it.
Absolutely.
There was an animal on the brink of extinction, the mountain gorilla. If you want to see a gorilla, it's going to cost you $1,500. They give 10% back to the farmers who previously were cutting down the forest, and they give 10% to the local economy to help them have schools. So you get complete buy-in by communities. So we are actively every day going out there and doing good. And that's what's also good about our sector, particularly in countries that have high populations of young people. They need real jobs. If I'm trekking through a forest, I'm not going to be doing that with a computer. I'm going to be doing that with a real wonderful guide.
Sure. Can you give everybody your perspective of the launch of WTTC's new digital platform called Together in Travel?
WTTC is known for representing the very, very top echelons of the biggest brands. But I remember you saying to me, probably 80% of our sector, all those great leaders are supported down their supply chains by small and medium enterprises, and they were not really being represented by WTTC. So we wanted to give them a voice, and it means that what we're doing is providing a platform where everybody in our sector can come together, whether they're not just the mighty leaders, but all the amazing businesses. And that is where our sector is going to grow from, isn't it? These are the people who are at the cutting edge of some of our most important businesses because they have their finger on the pulse. They're dealing with our customers every day. This initiative, we know, has been your passion project, Matthew. And just tell me, why does it matter so much to you?
I think it comes natural given that next year I will have been doing my virtuoso work for 40 years. To me, one of the best ways to complete our mission of being the representatives of the voice of the private sector is for the biggest organizations in the world, which initiated WTTC, to provide the platform and to provide the tools that allow these small, medium-sized enterprises, of which there are literally millions of around the world, to be able to be more successful. Most important is to connect what all these enterprises do to the larger narrative that binds us all together, because that narrative amplifies our voice in a way that I feel we have not yet fully realized.
Together in Travel, you kind of see it in three pillars. Would you sort of elaborate on that for us?
The first is to allow us all to have pride in what we do. Purpose and pride give you energy, give you passion, give you the ability to tell a better story and run a better business. We want to connect people, again, back to that global narrative about what travel and tourism means on a global basis. Everybody, for example, should be able to recite, my little business is connected to the largest service industry in the world, growing at 2 times the GDP of everything else, and we are 1 in 10 jobs in the world, 10% of the world's GDP. We all need to have that. So a sense of pride. Another sense of pride is, for example, let's take a very sensitive issue. One of the things that is absolutely leveled on us a lot of times is, well, your industry is ruining the planet. The problem is that because we have a very visible thing, it's an airplane, it's a car, it's a this, it's a whatever, we need to give people the pride and the counter arguments of what that. The piece of data that you shared when we had our summit in Riyadh, which basically showed that the travel and tourism industry was decarbonizing at twice the rate of the decarbonization for every point of growth of GDP. The second pillar is inspiration. How do we help SMEs around the world be inspired by the stories of others and how they do that and that they share it? And then the last pillar is practical tools. We've already had some very interesting discussions around some of the larger organizations in the world making some of their tool sets, some of their training, some of their assets available to SMEs. That becomes a virtuous cycle because Then, when the largest companies in the world that established WTTC walk into a city hall or a parliament, they're able to say what they're doing. They say, not only are we the largest, but we have X hundreds or thousands of SMEs in your area that we are helping to try to become more successful.
What's your vision for Together in Travel? What sort of impact do you think it will have on our sector in the future?
I'm hoping that we basically have hundreds of thousands, if not literally millions of people on the platform. Once we reach that level of scale, we will be able to create all types of programming, data, exchange of information, tool sets. We'll be able to attract some of the greatest minds in the world to share their ideas on how to help people be more effective. We know, for example, that destination stewardship starts the ability of a destination to first decide what's right for them. What do they want? What something like Together in Tourism, in travel is going to do is it's going to amplify the voice of all of those SMEs. Imagine that if in Barcelona there were thousands of SMEs or even just hundreds of SMEs that are amplifying the story of responsible tourism. I see in the future a platform that allows us to take the wisdom of literally hundreds of thousands or millions of entities to create that kind of think tank, that ability to amplify our messages and to create a narrative and solutions at a scale that is, quite frankly, very exciting.
And of course, we have the whole Virtuoso network. Everybody on the network is invited to join, but also to amplify our voice in travel and tourism.
To all of our Virtuoso partners, members, advisors, it's a freemium model. What I mean by that, it's all free. You get there, you're going to get a monthly, it'll probably go to a twice weekly newsletter. It has great information about nature positive tourism, what's happening with entrepreneurialism. We've got great partners, founding partners that have supported this. One of them is Microsoft and Accenture. They're going to give us technological capabilities to obviously translate this into many, many languages. Together in Travel is just this larger perspective. And please go to togetherintravel.com, amplify it, talk about it, and just sign up and join the movement. Thank you, Julia, for being here.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's been a real privilege.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.